get started. I'm going to get started.
I
didn't want to catch you in mid. No, that's all right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the fifth regular session of Kenton City Council, and we'll start off with a roll call.
Joel Althauser.
Present.
Sue Fox Broker. Lydia Miller.
Present.
Cliff Winiger.
Here.
Chad Miller.
Present.
Peg Wren.
Present.
Doris Bloom.
Present.
Robin Jones.
Here.
John Schwimmer.
Present.
Lynn Webb.
Here.
Cindy Murray.
Here.
All right. Thank you, Emma. We'll note Sue is expected in here in about 15-20 minutes. She had an engagement in the first part of the hour, so she'll walk right in when you get here. If everyone could stand for a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, in our hearts we plan our path, but we pray that you establish our steps. I pray that we seek your advice. Let us not make decisions based upon what we know, but rather let us act based upon your wisdom. Please guide us, Lord. We place this council meeting in your hands. We place our hearts and our minds in your hands so that you may direct us. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome, everyone. Get back to the agenda here. Sorry, a little bit warm in here tonight. HVAC always has a little bit of trouble making that switch over, and as Emma reminded me, it's supposed to snow the day after tomorrow anyway. So it's welcome to March in Ohio. The prior minutes were in your packets. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Anyone catch anything that needs fixed? Then let's let them stand approved as submitted. Today we're up to the portion of our program, citizens requesting time to speak, and this is the folks that are on the agenda. Before we do have Thad Gardner on the agenda today. I will remind anyone else that did not make it on the agenda but wants to speak tonight, there will be time at the end of the meeting. So Thad, if you want to come up front.
Right now?
Yep, you had called in ahead of time to get on the agenda, so this is where we do that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Thad Gardner, and I live in Ward 2. In 1995, a terrible tragedy occurred in Fox River Grove, Illinois. A train collided with a school bus at a railroad crossing, killing 7 students and injuring 24 others. Federal investigators found 2 root causes: a defective detour that routed traffic towards the tracks without proper analysis, and the failure to declare the railroad crossings a hazard during a streetscape project that altered traffic flow. Because these railroad crossings were not formally identified as a hazard, the required safety reviews and railroad coordination never occurred in Fox River Grove. After this tragedy, the federal government established mandatory safety rules. These rules require agencies to identify hazards, conduct diagnostic reviews with the railroad, and evaluate queue clearance whenever a project changes how vehicles approach or clear a railroad crossing. These requirements apply nationwide, including here in Kenton, Ohio. During Kenton's recent streetscape projects, the detours routed all traffic toward a single railroad crossing. This change in traffic flow created the same type of risk seen in Fox River Grove. Vehicles could be slowed or stopped near the tracks without any documented analysis. Under federal rules, this should have triggered a hazard declaration and a diagnostic review. That did not occur. To verify compliance of the US 68 SR 31 roundabout project, I contacted the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. The PUCO confirmed in writing that they have no records for the roundabout project. They reported that they are not involved with the roundabout at all. Because these records were missing, I immediately submitted a notice of non-compliance to the National Transportation Safety Board. The Federal Railroad Administration responded. The FRA confirmed that railroad crossings in Kenton do exist. The Federal Railroad Administration responded. The FRA confirmed that railroad crossings in Kenton do exist, that they present a hazard, and that the agencies responsible for addressing that hazard include the PUCO, the ORDC. Does anybody know what that means?
Ohio
Ohio
Road
Railroad.
Development Commission.
Thank you, sir. ODOT, CSX, and the City of Kenton. The FRA also stated that these agencies should respond to my inquiries regarding the missing railroad involvement documentation. At this time, the federal record establishes the following. The streetscape detour and roundabout project both affect highway traffic near active railroad crossings in Kenton, Ohio. Federal safety rules required hazard identification, diagnostic review, and railroad coordination. The PUCO has confirmed that none of the required documentation exists. The FRA has acknowledged that the Kenton Railroad crossings and the hazard, and has identified the responsible agencies. None of those agencies have provided answers. My request tonight is straightforward. I am asking City Council to formally request that ODOT comply with the federal safety requirements created after the Fox River Grove tragedy. These exist to prevent vehicles from being placed in unsafe position near railroad. Let me start that sentence over again, ladies and gentlemen, because this is important.
I'm listening now.
Oh, I wasn't looking at you.
Oh.
I know you're listening, Chad.
Okay.
I mean, Vice President Miller. I am asking City Council to formally request that ODOT comply with the federal safety requirements created after the Fox River Grove tragedy. These exist to prevent vehicles from being placed in unsafe positions near railroad tracks and prevent trains from hitting school buses at railroad crossings. In closing, I request an explanation how the roundabout project was certified no railroad involvement when the PUCO has confirmed that no records exist to support that designation.
Are you waiting for questions? Would you like questions now?
No, I asked you people a question.
That is not, I mean, we have not received any communication from PUCO, to my knowledge.
You have tonight.
You're not a rep.
Right.
I appreciate what you're saying, Todd, I really do. But you're not a representative of Public Utility Commissions of Ohio, Commission of Ohio.
No, I represent a third of the voters in Ward 2.
Yep, you do. Right.
I request an explanation why there's no railroad involvement with the roundabout project.
Can I ask you a question, Ted? first? So, one of the things you said is if it involves a change in the approach to the tracks. What is
A
it?
change in the traffic queues, a change in the amount of traffic.
Well,
the traffic
I think you
patterns.
said something about a change in the approach. What is the distance?
You tell me.
Are there any other?
Why is there no railroad involvement with the roundabout? That's all I want.
So off of your paper you've given us this evening, this says 400 feet from the rail for what you're asking.
I'll tell you
I was
exactly.
down there and measured it today myself, and it's 500 feet
Did you look
down
at
to Perry Street.
Did you look at the drawing I submitted at the first meeting this year?
I've seen the drawings, yes.
Did you look at the dimensions? That was drawn by Choice One. It was 407 feet on Detroit Street from the railroad crossing stop bar to the yield bar.
Okay, so
At the
that's
roundabout.
still 7 feet beyond what you're giving us.
Do you listen to what you say when you speak?
Do you listen to what you say when you speak? You're
Gentlemen.
asking us, you bring to us constantly the 1995 Fox River Grove. I looked into that. That was a stoplight on an interstate right next to the tracks. The bus got stopped at the light. There is no, you never make any mention of a light being involved to the traffic coordinates.
It's an intersection.
It is not an
The
intersection. The
roundabout's
intersection is at Ohio Street and up here at this. It's a flow, like any other
You're arguing
street.
against federal law.
So my point is, even without the roundabout, the guards come down to stop you. The bus was stopped at a light, and then the guard came down and hit it because there was not enough, there was only like 20 feet from the light to the track. I've looked into what you're asking us to consider as your case, the case study you bring to us constantly is the Illinois incident, and the road ran parallel with the tracks. There was a light, the bus got stopped at the light, the guardrail came down and hit the bus, the train hit the bus. Am I wrong? I mean, I've read.
The train did hit the school bus
The
because
train
of
hit the
a...
school bus, but it's not equivalent to our situation. The road does not run parallel to the tracks. The lights do not even, the first light ain't even up here till Franklin.
Why change the subject? Why is there
I'm
no
not changing
railroad,
the
why is
subject.
there no railroad
Okay.
involvement for the
Chad.
roundabout? Chad?
Mr.
No,
Gardner?
you're coming to us and you're constantly wanting us to ask.
Chad. Okay.
Why is there no railroad involvement
Thad,
with the roundabout,
Thad,
sir?
hang on a minute. We are not in a situation where we can sit here and respond to engineering questions, and you know that.
You've known about this since January 9th.
Thad, can I finish? We appreciate everything you've brought. We appreciate the document, although I don't have that document get handed around. Does Emma have a copy? Evidently, everybody has a document here.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't come up here to be browbeat by
that's-
anybody. I mean, he comes up and browbeats council constantly with facts that aren't accurate to the situation. So I'm going to make my stand tonight. You constantly come to us. You're laughing, but it's the facts. The case you create is not accurate to what you're asking us to investigate. And
Why
that's-
is there no railroad involvement with the roundabout? That is my question. Not traffic signals in Illinois, not 7 feet. IDOT used a 30-foot rule. If something was 30 feet away from a railroad crossing, they could do anything they want. What's your rule?
Thad, Mr. Gardner.
Yes, sir.
One of your first comments was that you wanted to get your concerns on the record, and you've done that.
Okay.
You've done that. And that's why I was asking. Evidently, there is a document that everyone has. Does Emma have that?
That's right.
Okay.
That's Lynn's. I didn't get one either, but she's got it now.
It was what?
Lynn's. I took Lynn's from her.
Okay. So you have done that. Is there anything else that you want to mention this evening?
Well, I will say this in closing again, that the silence in this room is deafening. I respectfully request to read the PUCO email, my notice of noncompliance to the NTSB, and the FR reply into the public record.
Okay, all of these items that you're mentioning, were those emailed to all of us?
Not all.
Okay. Can I have a copy?
I gave copies to my representative and my mayor.
Okay. So they have them, Emma has them, you've done that. Is there anything else you want to bring up this evening?
Thank you for contacting the Federal Railroad Administration. After conferring with the Office of Railroad Safety, Grade Crossing and Trespasser Outreach Division, we were advised that this is a matter for ODOT, FHWA, Kenton, Ohio traffic engineers, and CSX Railroad. Hopefully those entities will be fully responsible to your request. Respectfully, Warren Flateau, Deputy Director of Public Affairs, Federal Railroad Administration, U.S. Department of Transportation, Washington, D.C. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time.
Thanks, Mr. Gardner. While he's doing that, can you plug me in? I'm gonna die here and then I won't be able to do anything. As I said, there will be time at the end of the meeting for anyone else who would like to bring up a topic to council and or the administration. So just listen for time for public comments. Back to our agenda, we'll go on to communications. There are a couple of communications I would call everyone's attention to. First, in addition to her report in your packet, Holly Underwood with the Chamber of Business Alliance also has an item that we'll discuss in new business, if that's all right. Bring that up then. Received that tonight, and I think each of you did. Also, I'm going to just refer this to, I want to say it in front of all council, but refer it to finance. Maybe you guys can look this up. We did get a letter that we get every year from the Freedom Celebration Committee, AKA the Fireworks Committee. Yeah, I better make certain he didn't fall or something.
Yeah.
And they're looking for donations. Typically, we have put that in the budget. I'm going to pass this on down to you, Doris, and take a look at that. But I believe that's probably what we've given in the past has been in the budget. Would remind everyone, though, it is 250 years in the United States this year, so it is kind of a big year. They refer to that in the letter. I don't know, Lynn might have also some ideas if there's something we would like to do different, so please just talk amongst each other on that. And if you want to do, if it's already in the budget and you want to do that, just you can bring that up at the next meeting. Okay. Next on our agenda then, unless there's other communications that I might have missed. I would mention, if you want to see them, we do have the magazine from Ohio Cooperatives that came to the city, and also the newsletter from the County Council on Aging that the City Council receives. Those are both here. I want to take a look at them. Moving forward, petitions, we have none at this time. So administrative reports, Chief Musser.
I have nothing, thank you.
Chief Donnelly.
I just kind of want to remind everybody with the tornado siren going off on its weekly test last week and stuff, just to remind everybody that's starting back up. So that's always Wednesday at noon typically, as long as we don't have any kind of computer or other mechanical glitches and stuff. So the one thing I do want to note with that is if there are storms predicted for that day, we will probably forego the test. That way people don't think something's actually going on. even though the test is very different from what a tornado siren warning is, because right now, for the tornado siren, it'll sound for 3 minutes, then it'll be off for 3 minutes, then it'll sound for another 3 minutes, and it'll keep repeating that cycle as long as the tornado warning siren warning is active. And we'll get that notification either through the guys getting it through their phones from the National Weather Service or through 911 dispatch. So there is no all clear signal with that. So basically, once the siren quits going off on that pattern, that means the tornado warning has gone off or expired. So just want to let everybody know that. The other thing I want to remind people with the tornado siren is it is meant to warn people that are outside. It's not meant to actually warn people that are in their home. So yes, the people probably within I don't know what kind of a block radius of the tornado siren itself will probably hear it in their houses, but it's not actually designed for that. So the thought is, I think when they design these things is, if you're in your house, you're probably either going to get it, especially nowadays, something coming across your phone, or if you're watching TV or the radio and stuff, that you'll get those warnings across that. So the primary function for these was actually to warn people that were outside that maybe were away from, especially back in the day when we didn't have cell phones and stuff, that you would get that notification. So one of the reasons why, and we kind of found this out the hard way, is we don't do it during the winter months. One, it's just kind of a low time for tornadoes to happen. Two, we found out that if it rains and then gets cold and freezes, water collects up in that siren part, and if that water freezes, it actually keeps the blades from turning and then blows an expensive fuse down at the bottom. So that's why we turn it off during the winter months and basically just run it during the active tornado season. So that was the biggest thing I wanted to let you know for tonight. So,
Chief, one thing, the fire contracts with the townships come up in June.
okay.
If you might think about your thoughts on where we are with that, and even beyond that, we do have a new chair on finance, got some new faces in council, maybe even reach out to them or vice versa. I don't know that a lot of people are aware of what the townships already do contribute
Right.
beyond just what they pay annually.
Right.
So, and vice versa, and also what the city contributes. So.
And I guess kind of going along with that, one of the things too, I got updates on the truck delivery time has actually been pushed up about another month, so we're looking end of June or end of July for the delivery of that truck that we got funding through the state for. So, and I guess kind of a sidebar with that, the townships have agreed to purchase a new tanker for us also, and that's to be delivered in August, September. So that's kind of one of the things that, along with the contract, they do provide us some of the equipment that we use for runs out in the township. So they do pay a little more than just that contract fee. So
There are multiple vehicles
Right.
that they own, all are
There's-
part of.
two that they own solely, then the one engine 71, there's a three-way split on that one between the city and the two townships. So.
Okay. Any questions for Chief Donnelly? Okay, then let's move on. Anything we want to talk about, Public Works? Cindy? Okay. Economic Development. Holly, if you want to,
I'd like to highlight some.
why don't you highlight and then go right into this?
Okay.
Thanks. So you might want to get your report from Holly out now.
Did everybody get the attachment that was with that? Did they get the 4-page version?
Is that in there?
Okay, then I will go a little bit further in depth, and I can make sure that I get that to everyone. But for economic development, one note that's not on the report, Joel mentioned the America 250 celebration, and in Hardin County, my office through the Division of Tourism is partnering with the Historical Society to head up the organization of the celebration. And so if anybody is interested in maybe expanding what Kent does or learning more about what is planned, feel free to reach out to Deb in our office. The first bullet point under business attraction, the comprehensive economic development strategy. We have been working on this for several years now. The idea came up, we started to work on it, some staff changed in some of our partnering counties, but now it will go to my board for approval on Friday. And that is a collaboration between Allen, Hancock, Hardin, Putnam, and Van Wert counties. And the comprehensive economic development strategy focuses on connectivity, transportation, infrastructure, prepared communities, quality of life elements within our 5-county region. It identified some goals. We did some public information and listening sessions, but it will be submitted to the Economic Development Administration, making our region eligible for additional federal Economic Development Administration funds and other grants. So that's what's up with the bullet point number 1. For a little bit further down, Opportunity Zones 2.0. So quickly to highlight that, several years ago they introduced an Opportunity Zone program and then they locked it closed, and we did not have any, it's done by census tract, so we did not have any participating tracts in the first round. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act reopened the window and made some changes to the program, and it includes a Qualified Rural Opportunity Fund, and Hardin County qualifies for that category. So there's some advantages in Hardin County or in the rural area. Investors who deploy capital in Hardin County will receive a 30% reduction in original capital gains tax bills after 5 years. Urban zones only receive a 10% deduction. There's also a change to a 50% substantial improvement rule. So to qualify for tax breaks, a developer must only improve a property. They only have to increase the value by 50%, and that the standard for that is 100%. So easier to reach that threshold in rural communities. It also makes the renovation of historic or smaller scale buildings significantly more feasible. And then there is 10-year tax-free appreciation. So if an investment is held for 10 years, all profit made on the appreciation of the asset is 100% federal tax exempt. So putting an opportunity zone in place makes investment here a lot more attractive. Eligible tracts that I would like to highlight would be Kenton Central. There's a high eligibility rate. There has to be median family income or a poverty rate threshold that is met. And so Kenton Central has high eligibility and would be critical for downtown revitalization and converting those upper floors to workforce housing. And then also the Buck and Pleasant Townships targeted industrial corridor expansion. So attracting manufacturing capital via the rural 30% step up. So I plan to make a submission to the Ohio Department of Development, who is going to funnel the nominations to the governor, and then the governor has to submit those to the federal government. Only 25% of the state's eligible tracts can be nominated by the governor. So it's a competitive process, keeping my eye on it, and currently waiting for the Department of Development to open the portal so that we can submit our tracts in Hardin County. One step that I'll be coming back will be to get letters of support from the local municipal and other local government entities, just to show that we're all rowing together when we make that application. So that's coming down the pipeline. Also working with regional planning, Mark Dahl, he just submitted a grant application to the Ohio Department of Agriculture for a land use planning grant. And with that, we will be asking to have part of that land use plan include a housing needs assessment. So in my office, we've been working on a Hardin County Housing Coalition to stimulate housing development in the county. We have a Kenton committee, an Ada committee, and then minor villages committee as well. So we meet quarterly as a large group, and then the separate interests meet individually in the intervening times. But the housing needs assessment was identified by our housing coalition as an important element to help us tell developers, if you build it, they will come. Here's the type of house that would be in demand, that would sell. And so I provided a strong letter of support for that, also supporting that with the city, supporting that to the commissioners when the time comes to actually put that into place. But right now we're waiting. They just opened the application window for the grant to fund the creation of the thing. That would involve significant public input sessions, and so I also encourage all of you to keep your eyes and ears open and make sure your voices are heard when we begin to do the research to assemble a plan like that. Joel, the issue that Joel mentioned was enterprise zone. As the administrator for Hardin County's enterprise zones, we just met on Friday. So this report was written on Wednesday. I did the meetings on Friday, and now I'm coming back to you after we did them. But we had tax incentive review council meetings. There's representatives included in those groups from this Kenton and Buck Township cooperate together. So Kenton and Buck Township, the local school district, the Career Center, Ohio High Point sits in, as well as county elected officials sit in with us on that. And we heard updates from Stillwater Metal, Graphic Packaging, Robinson Fin Machines, and Vancrest. So Robinson Fin and Vancrest have not received any property tax abatements through the Enterprise Zone program at this time, or as of December 31st, 2025. So they gave us construction updates. Everything sounds great, well on track with those two. And then Stillwater Graphic Packaging were found to be in compliance, and it was recommended by the Tax Incentive Review Council to continue those agreements. We have a choice. We can continue, amend, or terminate those agreements. So the recommendation coming from the TIRC is to continue those. I'd ask for a resolution at your next meeting to confirm that action, which I'll take to the commissioners, then we'll send it to Columbus.
So in that, I mean, I have no problem drawing up that resolution and support, but you need it passed then at the next meeting with emergency language.
Yes.
So the request, if we don't have enough people here, so I'm just throwing that out there. We have a few new council members, so it's important. So I can get the resolution. I will have it to Emma to go out in the packet, but we need to get enough voters here to waive the 3-read rule and pass with the emergency language.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And then jumping down onto the second page, the top bullet, community development, we are working on some big reimagination of the Kenton Historic Courthouse District. And it's not quite ready for public consumption, but we have come up, Jennifer Ramsey, the Historic Courthouse District Coordinator, and I have been brainstorming and doing some planning on how to make Kenton Historic Courthouse District really effective and make a difference for us, and collaborate with our partner agency, Revitalize Kenton, so that we can work together and move the ball further. So that's all I have to share right now. Thank you. Any questions for me?
If I can add, if you guys on her handout that everybody received, at the very top on the first bullet point, where it's the link that she has highlighted under business attraction, under that first bullet point, click on that. There's a lot of good information, and I think it's valuable for you guys to know statistics, all of that up-to-date stuff about our town and what we have to offer. So it's a great piece of information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything more on income tax beyond what was mentioned in council, or in finance? Okay. Auditor, is there anything you want to talk about? Treasurer, we do have the report, I believe it's the report from the auditor and the treasurer in your packet. I believe that was it. Are there any questions on that report? Law Director, John, anything you want?
Nothing at this time.
Safety Service Director.
Helms is shooting for the week of the 23rd for the start of the Perry, the shutdown of the roads and start of the Perry Street sanitary sewer installation. So, and we had our EPA asset audit down at the water plant. Thank you for those who showed up. We fared extremely well.
Fast.
It was very quick, very fast, so I think I was prepared for much worse, but we did very well. So thank you for coming, supporting us.
Okay. Lynn?
No, nothing.
Defer till later, all right. So let's go on to committees. Finance, there is a written report from February 23rd.
Correct.
Anything you want to add?
No, just that we met prior to this meeting and we discussed the reports in more detail. We're learning as we go, as a new committee and new council members. And the next meeting is April 13th at 5:30 PM.
Okay. MOP, anything to report?
Nothing, has not been.
Nothing scheduled, so public utilities.
We meet this Wednesday at 3:30 here in council chambers. We are signed up to go to Newark, Ohio for a all-day seminar on March 18th. I think Cindy has a lot of us signed up to go. So we can show that we're good stewards of our EPA loans and our work.
Streets, alleys, sidewalks.
Streets, alleys, and sidewalk did meet in February, but I apologize. I was stuck at a home inspection and I did not make it, so thank you to my other members that were here. But Cindy did send out to everyone, I believe it was, what was accomplished in that. So if anybody has any questions, why, let us know. And we do have another meeting March 25th at 3:30.
Okay, thanks, Peg. Legislation.
So we met on February 27th. We discussed the M1, M2. We agreed to legislation. The council should see, I think, at next meeting, more than likely.
I'll try to get that
Okay.
worked out.
So we have agreed on an M1, M2, revising our ordinance on that. We discussed creating an ordinance to register vacant buildings in the city that kind of follow surrounding communities. That's just a work in progress, but we've started discussions on that. We discussed our stormwater utility charges, which is would be based on an equivalent residential unit. We currently, no matter the size of our property or the size of our business, we all pay $1 on our $1 towards that. We're looking at making that proportionate to the property size. We also discussed the Charter City Initiative and forming a citizen committee, discussed pursuing it onto another ballot. So if anybody would be interested in wanting to be on that committee and get involved in that, we will look to form a committee in that regard. Other than that, and we will meet again on March 25th, which is on your packet, 4:30. 4:30.
Thanks, Chad. All good stuff. Thank you very much. Council members, regional planning, I know you don't meet for a while yet.
No.
So Parks and Rec, you see you got a meeting March 11th. Anything else, Robin?
No?
Well, things are going to be greening up and everybody will be getting out the parks before we know it. So, Grove Cemetery Board, anything to talk about?
We met on the 3rd, and I have a real quick meeting tomorrow right after utilities, voting on a new used Kubota. That's it. And then we have the next meeting after that will be the 7th of April.
BKP Ambulance Board, there's a couple things that occurred to me that did come up at our meeting. One has been something that's been ongoing for quite some time that I believe will come to fruition, and that's, they call it a baby box, but it's a specific addition to the building where if someone would want to drop off an infant, no questions asked, and it has security to where we would know when that is done. I believe that's going to happen. We weren't certain it was going to for a while, but it's going to be a bit if it does. But I believe there will be one of those installed at some point at the BKP location. The other item that came up that was interesting, but I think it's been discussed enough. We did have Mr. Conover there. Cannot think of his first name. Yeah, Seth Conover from ODOT there to talk about what was coming up with the roundup. If you think about where BKP is located, there is considerable interest in that. I will mention that in the conversation, one of the board members brought up to Seth, well, how did it even become decided to do it that way? And I spoke up before Seth could even answer and just said, that ship has sailed. We need to move on. I mean, the roundup has been decided. Muddling through exactly how the decision was made now, that was a discussion for a year and a half ago. And I think that was accepted within reason. There's a lot of concern there. I think Seth did a pretty good job, very good job as a matter of fact, of convincing the board and the staff that, yes, very aware that the entire pad out front will not be shut off at any one time. It will be about half at a time. But there is concern. So I would make certain council knew that that was brought up. Beyond that, nothing more to report on BKP. And again, we meet the third Monday of each month at 6 o'clock in the order that we take. Any old business anyone wants to bring up? New business, again, Holly already really touched on it, but John will have legislation then in the form of a resolution with regards to what Holly brought up on the enterprise zone agreements. And we will need to get that passed one way or another at our next meeting. So we can move right on to ordinances and resolutions, first readings. Take it away, Emma.
Resolution number 005-26, a resolution tentatively awarding the contract for the water treatment plant repair and rehab design to Wessler Engineering and declaring an emergency.
So, a lot of discussion on it, a little bit in finance, but Cindy, maybe the background to why we need to really look at this tonight.
Yes, so this is tied with the $6 million principal forgiveness / loan that we got from the EPA. This is the engineering portion, administration portion of the project that we were going to try to handle ourselves and realized that we were in way over our head. There is a rush on this, so we sent out for, it's called RFQs for requests for qualifications. We advertised in the paper. We had 3 companies come back with their qualifications. We scored each one. Price had nothing to do with it. We selected Wessler Engineering, and then Wessler gave us this quote that is attached to this project. There is a huge rush on this. In order to secure the funding, it has to go out for bid in April. So that there is a huge rush on this, so I'd ask that you would pass that in. And this will be, this price will be rolled into the loan that we have from the EPA, the grant loan.
Any questions for Cindy?
So the only thing I would reiterate is what I brought up in finance. It lists Pam as
Yes.
one of the signatures. That'll need to be amended to be Christie, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
All right, so we're looking for a motion to suspend the rules.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the 3-vote rule on Resolution 00526.
I'll second that.
Okay, been moved by Doris, seconded by Peg, to suspend the rules to allow for a vote on the first reading. There's no discussion, so we'll go ahead and vote on that.
Sue Fox-Broker,
Yes.
Lydia Miller,
Yes.
Cliff Winiger,
Yeah.
Chad Miller.
Yes.
Peg Ren,
Yes.
Doris Bloom,
Yes.
Robin Jones.
Yes.
That's a vote of 7-0, so that passes. Anyone like to move a motion?
I move a motion to adopt the resolution 005-26.
Thanks, Robin. Looking for a second?
Second.
Second by Chad. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote on that.
Lydia Miller,
Yes.
Cliff Winiger,
Yes.
Chad Miller,
Yes.
Peg Ren,
Yes.
Doris Bloom.
Yes.
Robin Jones.
Yes.
Sue Fox-Broker.
Yes.
That also passes 7-0. Next one up.
Ordinance number 26-004, an ordinance providing for additional appropriations and for transferring funds for the year 2026 for the city of Kenton, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
First, I call your attention, there's an asterisk on that as well. There is an explanation of that ordinance in your packet, and for those who were at finance, this was discussed in considerable detail. So I guess I would ask, do any council members have any questions, given the explanation that's in your packet? Would anyone like
I
to?
move that we waive the 3-read rule for ordinance number 26-004.
Thanks, Sue.
I'll second that.
Second by Robin. No discussion, so go ahead and vote on suspension of the rules.
Cliff Winiger,
Yes.
Chad Miller,
Yes.
Peg Ren,
Yes.
Doris Bloom,
Yes.
Robin Jones.
Yes.
Sue Fox-Broker,
Yes.
Lydia Miller.
Yes.
That passes 7-0.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 26-004.
Right. Moved by Peg.
Yes, I'll second.
Second by Cliff. Is there any discussion on that?
Chad Miller,
Yes.
Peg Ren,
Yes.
Doris Bloom,
Yes.
Robin Jones.
Yes.
Sue Fox-Broker,
Yes.
Lydia Miller,
Yes.
Cliff Winiger.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Thanks, everyone. Got a few items for second reading.
Resolution number 001-26, a resolution finalizing actions under codified ordinance number 25-005 to permit the city of Kenton to enter into a highway improvement project with the Ohio Department of Transportation and declaring an emergency.
Any questions on this? If you've thought about it, I'm certain it was at the top of your mind the last 2 weeks, but if you have thought about it, any questions? All right, anything changed where we can't read that a third time?
This is the sidewalk project.
There are no objections, we'll go ahead and read that a third time in 2 weeks.
Resolution number 004-26, a resolution authorizing the sale of personal property not intended for municipal purposes and declaring an emergency.
Would note, I'm going to refer to it as an edit. There was a one piece of equipment added to that, the last piece.
The flagpoles that we took down out
Oh, okay, that's been added. And other than that, no changes. Any objections to waiting and reading that again in 2 weeks? Okay, last one.
Ordinance number 26-003, an ordinance amending Kenton Codified Ordinance Section 1437.05, 1437.07, and 1437.10 relating to the downtown historic district in the city of Kenton.
Anything has, nothing
No,
changed?
this is basically just the makeup of the board.
Any questions on that one? So if it's okay with you all, we'll read that again in 2 weeks as well. So you'll have 3 up to the third reading in 2 weeks, in addition to the resolution that John will have for us for Holly and the enterprise zones. Nothing on third reading. Any other matters anyone wants to bring up? Comments from the public? Christie, anything? Oh, I shouldn't. Comments from the public. I'm sorry. I didn't have. Anyone left? So, news media. Now, Christie, comments from, anything you want to add? Chief Musser, Chief Tom. Anything else, Howard? All right, Sue?
I wanted to bring up something about the road going back to the school now, down beside the apartments. Is there any way we can get streetlights put down there? It is black down there in the mornings. You can't see anything.
Safety could probably
We can look at it, but there's no poles down through there, so
it'd be the,
it's gonna be cost a lot of money, so we'll look at it. We got one, they're supposedly looking at putting one out at 114 and 53 and 2 at the Walmart entrances. One at each entrance. Walmart entrance. We can look down Morningside Drive.
good point, Cliff, thank you.
What is that street again?
Morningside.
I'll never remember it. I gotta write it down.
Anything else, Cliff, you want to talk about?
No, that's it. That was kind of a safety issue to me,
Yep.
down that way.
Chad?
No, thank you.
Okay. Doris?
Revitalize Kenton still planning that April 25th downtown cleanup. We'll be looking for volunteers.
I don't have anything, thanks. Thank you.
All right, John? Lynn?
I just want to reiterate, so when Joel was talking about BKP and the roundabout and stuff, and even with this sewer project we have that's going to start, I just want to reassure everybody, we meet with BKP chief and his people, so we've talked with those, we've talked with Party Shop, we've talked with residents who will be affected by this sewer line between Wayne and Main, just so everybody knows that everybody's been talked to and we're working with everybody. Also, we put out a call to fill a vacancy for Park and Rec Board, and we received several, so that was good. So we'll look into that at the next Park and Rec Board meeting. I think we'll do more of that, put it out for public on when we need to fill a vacancy in a board. And also just remind everybody, State of the City is the 19th at 6:30 at the Performing Arts Center. I assume we go in the back door, like you're going to a ball game. And my shout out goes to KPD and KFD with the fire this week at Scioto Village, where unfortunately the person didn't make it, nor did his dog, but well done to KPD, who was on scene at first, and then KFD. It's a tragedy, but our guys did the best they could.
Yeah, just figured Lynn would remind you that her State of the City here in a little over a week. And try to be there. You know, I'm going to try to be there. So. Chad, apologize that I needed to do that in general. One thing that I've maybe for myself as much as everybody tried to promise myself is that we wouldn't get down in a myriad of back and forth and actually arguing with someone. And I don't fault, I 100% understand your frustration. 100%. I just know that we had an incident with this gentleman before that escalated to a point that I was uncomfortable with, and I did not want that to happen anymore. So, we'll take his information, enter it of record, but we're not gonna get ourselves in a position where we're trying to answer engineering questions and questions that, whether he says they're our decision or not, are not truly and fully our decision. We're just not going to do that. So.
On the look of that, how close does a railroad have to be to an intersection before the railroad has to get involved? Does anybody know this?
So,
I thought his paper said 400 feet. He wasn't happy it was 407 feet.
I mean, Cliff, I guess I understand what you're saying, and I've done the same thing Chad did, gone down there, walked it, measured it, looked at it. There's a point where we have to trust and rely on ODOT, where we have to trust and rely on the fact that CSX or whomever that track is will work back and forth with ODOT and with those engineers to do that the right way.
So ODOT has looked at it, right?
So
John.
ODOT has looked at it, and what I don't understand the angle here tonight is why the public utilities is brought in as the authority. To me, that's bringing in somebody that's can review utilities, but they're not the ones that design. So asking them for this information, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a response that they're not the appropriate entity. So that angle I don't fully understand. ODOT is the group we're relying on. They have the engineers. They have the ability. They are also familiar with federal requirements in building, and we are relying strongly on them throughout this process because they do this all across the state. It's really their job when it comes to state and also federal routes.
And so far, with what little bit you both, I'm looking at Lynn and Cindy now, have seen with the roundabout project, which we're still in early stages of the nuts and bolts of it. This has been very much.
We're in it.
Well, but we're still.
We have acquired right away.
Yeah,
So
we have acquired right away. That's, to me, that's still early
Legislation will be
stage.
at the next meeting.
But the point I'm trying to make is, this is very much an ODOT project, as opposed to,
Oh, yes.
like,
It's
phase
not
one.
us, yes, we're not managing this project.
We're not
It's
managing
completely
it.
ODOT's
It is
managing
an
this project.
ODOT
This is like
project.
phase
We are in
two.
support of the
Yes.
project, but it's not our project.
Yes, we're not out
Versus a
there
little
approving everything.
different than phase two and even phase one before a lot of your time
This is
on
like
council.
from Carroll Street to
So,
Eliza.
Choice One drew up all the plans, showed us what they were drawing up. They all had to be submitted in stages to ODOT for approval.
My point is here, is just to get a point across to the public that ODOT has control of this. It's nothing to do with the city of Kenton. Just because it's in the city, we don't have control of it. And my outlook on it is if ODOT has approved it, they have touched all bases. That's my outlook on it. I just wanted to make that a fact that the public can look at, you know.
No, we
Call
wanna get
ODOT, you know.
very clear, we're working in concert with ODOT though. I mean, it's not like ODOT's ramming this down our throats and.
Well, obviously, we wanted
Right.
it, but I'm just saying, we haven't got control of the engineering part of it. They are doing that.
Well, and I'm gonna, maybe a rough analogy, but if you remember, we had a discussion about the North Detroit Street with the parking that was removed. There was a little bit of that we oversee, the sign off on that. This project, this roundabout project there's very little, I think, that the mayor or council would have the ability to change at this point. Is that a safe way to say that? I think very little in that roundabout project. It is an ODOT run project. So that's where I don't know that we ever want to get in a position where we're trying to answer someone in an open council session regarding those kind of questions. Because I don't accept the premise of the question to us. It isn't our question to answer.
So I'm not sure if you're admonishing me for my.
No. I'm apologizing for, I wanted to
For my
stop.
dialogue with him, but my point was he brings case study of something that is not relevant. It wasn't even about the PUCO, and he wants to list that it's 400 feet, and then he acknowledges it's 407 feet. I mean, if he wants to come and speak, I'm all for that, but you have to be willing to stand behind what you're approaching us with consistently and have to be able to back up. What he brings up has no direct relevance to our city and our whole roundabout. I mean, what he brings up doesn't even involve a roundabout. It involves a highway that was parallel to the tracks. If you want to bring something to our attention that is relevant, he gets a little perturbed if he feels like we're not directly looking at him and watching and listening intently to what he has to say. I don't mean any disrespect to any citizen that comes up here, but you have to be willing to engage in dialogue and stand behind what you're presenting us with consistently and constantly and make a case for it other than just kind of browbeat us and
Yeah, and it's
admonish us for what you believe is an injustice. So, I mean, I'm just...
A roundabout's a continuous flow project anyhow. The traffic continually flows. It doesn't stop. So there's no way, unless there's a major accident right there, there is no way traffic will stop at a roundabout. And I don't think if an accident are there, they'll drive right around it. You gotta realize what truck drivers do. They'll just drive around it. They don't care.
Or over you.
So, just wanted to explain that a little bit. I'm just trying to keep, I don't know at what point I felt it got to where all we were doing is there were two people arguing back and forth. So if I offended you, Chad, or
No.
anyone else, I do apologize for that. But I'm also, to your point, not going to let that conversation continue because I've been guilty of it myself, number one. And number two, I've let it continue a couple times too long to where it was not proper.
Well, I remember when he threw paperwork and walked out.
I was here, but I waited out there.
We got Chief here, he'll...
Well,
Last time he,
yeah,
he scared
I
me
know,
out of my seat.
you're a very good point. I never worry about that, but if it gets to the point where in the one time I actually did look at him and I got thinking, Joel, you should never allow something to get to that point, or at least try not to.
Yeah.
So,
Well, he's on the record for that one because I think he even threw it at the camera. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was sitting back here when he did it.
I wasn't a member then, good.
Okay, anyway, took long enough on that. Anything else anyone can think of? All right, then, we are adjourned for 2 weeks, but before then will be the State of the City on the 19th, 6 o'clock at Kenton's.
6:30.
6:30. Well, I want everybody there early.
Grab some dinner.
Yeah.
It could be a long night.
Oh,
Or not.
all right, until then, we're adjourned.